connected to everything, and that's why I'm in everything. All eyes on me, all eyes on everything. That means everything. Eyes connected to everything.
I love that. Wait till you get that beat flying on there. Dude. There it is. Coming over crystal clear. Let me make this bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming over pretty good. Yeah. All right. This is we don't have anybody in the room right now, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is things that people don't want to talk about, brought to you by me, God Level. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I am a nurse, I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a friend, I'm an aunt. I am everything good. John, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
John Skywalker, the Slide Talker here, lyricist, spoken word artist, martial artist, personal trainer, lover of life, student of psychology, and I'm a father who has 5 hip-hop albums streaming on all major streaming platforms. Now, today, this is one of those songs right here, I Everything. If you like positive, conscious hip-hop, you know, that light music, bars, good content, you should go ahead and listen to me.
Salute. Aaron, our newest member, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Hi. Yes, I'm Aaron, pharmacy technician. I'm a mom and an auntie and a parent, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm excited about this show. I'm like so stoked right now. Everybody like and share, subscribe, whatever platform you're on. I need you to like, love this. And all I can say is let's get into it. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. Yes. Woo. Tonight we're going heavy. I don't know if y'all been watching for the past couple of weeks. We've been keeping a lot of things on current events. Tonight we're that's what's up. Tonight we're doing human trafficking, and of course we're going to have to do 2 parts. This is not something that you can cover all in one show. Honestly, it leads you down in places you did not think exist. Let's just start there. Whew. So before you take that trip down that road, be sure you are ready to uncover a lot of things that you did not know was going on right here in our own backyard. And I'm just talking about America, period. But first, we're going to go ahead and define human trafficking. John, you want to take that or you want me to grab it?
Oh, you can go ahead and start it off. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Human trafficking is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of people through force, fraud, or deception with the aim of exploiting them for profit. And then there are 3 categories associated with human trafficking, which is the sex trade, forced labor, and domestic servitude. The number one type over here in America is the sex trade, literally. The sex trade is sex trafficking. Men, women, and children are being sold for sex. 70% of them are women and children. And then we have forced labor, defined as labor trafficking, the recruitment, labor, transportation, provision, and obtaining a person for labor services. And then also debt bondage, which we're going to put under domestic servitude. When it came to debt bondage, Aaron had explained to me that up in New Jersey, Newark, there was a group of women who were brought here from a different country, made to braid hair in the daytime and have sex at night. She can tell you.
Yeah, they basically brought them over for a better life. told their family that they were bringing them over for a better life, the piece of the American pie. They come over, and of course, it costs money to bring people over from other countries. So they have them braiding hair. They had them braiding hair all throughout the day, and then at night, uh, they were having sex for money. And this is how you paid off your debt. But then you have to realize it's kind of like modern day sharecropping, because you constantly going to incur debt, because they buy your clothes, they buy your food, they provide shelter,
Mhm.
and all of this is being charged to your bill or your account. So then once you get you think you got your debt paid off, they say, wait a minute, what about, you owe us for this, this, that, and this, and the numbers ain't right.
Right.
So it's basically a circle that you just stuck in, constantly having to work this debt out.
Right.
Mm.
So the
Wow.
guy, I think he got 327 months in federal prison, and we calculated that to be about
20 some years.
20 some years.
That's it. He should have got life. I'm sorry. Kudos to Florida for bringing back the death penalty for abusing children under 12. Kudos. Do that. Kill them. I hate when I do that. I cover my mouth. Let's go back to the definition of the three types of human trafficking. This is domestic servitude. Housekeepers, nannies, and cooks, they are often housed with their employers, unable to leave because of debts incurred. She just explained that.
Mm.
For their travel and because their identity papers are withheld by their employers. Or, yeah, they can't leave. They cannot leave. Um, these are modern day slaves. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Yeah, that's when you look at it, when you stand back and look at all of it, they're nothing more than modern day slaves.
Yeah.
Um, and when it comes to recruiting young girls for the sex trade, please be aware that they are in shopping malls, junior high, high school, foster homes, group homes, courthouses, restaurant, bars, bus stations, concerts, parks, libraries, and of course, social media. And then they put this on here, sites like Facebook.
Yeah. Very big, and they have don't know the codes, don't know how they use them, but they have different codes that they put on there to let you know that this is the service that we are providing. So I know Backpage and Craigslist used to be a big deal back in the early 2000s for sex
Mm.
trafficking. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if they still using that, but now they're using these regular Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, different things like that. You have to be careful because this is how they lure your children in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have to start to be mindful and paying attention to what, because a lot of the kids know what the definitions are. We just don't, because we are on different apps doing different things.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful and mindful of these things that they can lure your children in and pretend to be the same age.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. I've seen a video like that on TikTok on a guy who was able to jump on the dark web. And it did not take him long to get in these chat rooms, say that he was a certain age, but wasn't really. And it was just that simple. I'm
Yeah,
16. He's actually 39.
yeah, because coercion is the one of the number one
It's the
things
biggest.
that
Mhm.
they listed,
Establishing trust.
and
Establishing
that's exactly,
trust.
yeah, that's exactly what they do on some of these social media apps. Um, if you know it or not, I don't know. Parents, I'm sure parents do know this, but those that don't, they have live chats on YouTube. So don't think that Baby Shark and Coco
Mm.
Melon can't, I don't know what the teenage stuff is, but don't think that they can't shoot them a message and pick out that name and say, "Hey, how you doing?" so on and so forth, because there are live chats on there.
Mhm. Mm. They target people who come from broken homes.
Mm.
Their spirit has
Definitely.
already been broken. They have to already be. A lot of them are already going through some type of abuse at home. These are people that they are targeting, and it seems like these people are everywhere because I read it says once a victim is found, so they're looking. They're
Hmm.
constantly looking. So
Qualifying, yeah,
yeah,
qualifying factors.
yeah. They may be transported to where the trafficker has a high demand, or they may stay close in the area where they are targeted. That just made me think about a lot of children that are taken, or probably right there in the neighborhood of where they were taken at, and
Amen.
they people just don't know
Mm.
it. This is $150 billion industry. When I was a teenager, it was only 4 to 6 billion. Now that I'm adult, well over 40, it's 150 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of hands being greased. That's a lot of people in different organizations that are coming together to commit this crime over here in America. Moving on.
All right, so yeah, let's chop into that aspect of what we're really talking about here, right? We're talking about the industry, so we'll highlight that point, right? And just to be clear for our audience members out here, you have to approach this not so much from a moralistic standpoint. I mean, that's easy. It's easy to moralize whether or not human trafficking is wrong or not. It's a lot more complicated than just right or wrong, and that tends to be very reductionistic for us to just say, "Oh, well, it's wrong, and so you shouldn't do it," just because it isn't. We're a lot more complicated than that. So we are referring to an industry, right? In the
I'm
United
sorry.
Nations.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there's some feedback.
Yeah, no, that was me. I'm sorry.
But the United Nations says that there's three main elements to um, human trafficking. There's the act, right? So that's the recruitment, the transportation, the transferring, the harboring, and the receipt, right? So there's a whole process right there in which it's very akin to goods, right? There's, all right, we got to get them, we got to move it, and then we got to receive them, right? So we're treating humans like cattle here. We're treating them like product, right? So then there's the means. How do we make this happen? And that's threat or use of force. There's usually some coercion, some abduction is involved. There's going to be some fraud and some deception. There's even going to be abuse of authority. Um, and then there's the leveraging. You're giving payments or benefits to a person in order to control them, right? So that's the act. We got the means, and then we got the purpose. What's the purpose in all of this? The purpose of exploitation, which we're talking about exploitation of prostitutes, um, sexual exploitation. We're talking about forced labor, slavery, similar practices, and then we'll even go as far as to say the purpose is the removal of the organs and the resale of them, right? Because organs are a hot commodity for certain individuals, typically elite level.
Um, that just made me think about some organs that which brought me to breeders. They are got these little girls breeding these children, and once they are done breeding them for 10 years, meaning they have these little girls have babies and sell these babies, they either sell their organs or they kill them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And y'all need to go and watch the little ones. It is located on YouTube. Check that out whenever y'all get a chance. But
I did, and
it was, yeah,
there were some fact checkers out on that, so I'm on the
yeah,
fence when it comes to that one. There were some
okay,
fact checkers that had some responses to that,
yeah,
so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna listen to both sides carefully, but yeah,
yeah, gotcha.
it's pretty wide open. But so let's break down why is this considered an industry, right? So some elements of an industry, right? again, just to clarify, an industry is a sector of an economy. And I want to be clear about that. It's a sector in an economy because economies involve finances, right? And it's typically characterized by the production of goods or the provision of services, and they're related to one another, right? So, of course, you got to have the product or the service, right? And industries revolve around the production or the provision of those goods and services. Um, and then there's like shared characteristics of the the goods and the services. Then there's the demand, the market demand. So as long as there's a demand, there's going to be a supplier, right? Then there's the supply chain, and that includes like various stages such as the material acquisition, or the product acquisition or the production, the distribution of it, and then the retail aspect of it, right? And then quite often there's competition, right? So everybody's not on the same team when it comes to this industry, as we would like to believe, right? Because I mean, gangs are highly involved in human trafficking and sex
Yes.
trafficking. So rival gangs, like there's competition for those goods. There's competition for property. There's competition for venues, areas, property, right? So by gaining control of the property or that area, or even the goods in that area, that really implies competition. Um, what else? We're talking about industry. We're talking about regulations and standards, which that doesn't really apply here, but there are rules, right?
They
Then there's
try to regulate. They try to regulate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh, go ahead.
Uh, they try to regulate it with. We were discussing about the fines. So the customer uh average fine is about $100.
Yes.
The workers fine is about $1,000 on
Yep.
average.
Yep.
So they I guess they were trying to deter it by
Yeah.
finding the girls heavy so they would stop, or the boys or whoever the supplier is at that moment, finding them heavy so they would be deterred from providing the product. But if you can make $1,000 in a night, how much of a deterrent is that?
Mm-hmm.
When you got your average Joe, they're getting charged this $100 fine. Why not give them the higher fine? Would affect their households and
Mm.
some of the things that's going on in their households. Because if you hit somebody, the average working man, with $500 or $600 fine, that's going to make some changes around. You got to change some of you got to rob Peter to pay Paul, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that may, but I think when you say with the industry, we all know that this is the oldest profession in the world. So we'll go back to what you just said. How can
Yeah.
we, will we be ever be able to get a handle on this? Because it seems like it's been there's been a need for this since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can explore that. Why has it been here for so long? Like, this has been a human problem for a very long time. So we can discuss that, but it's also going to be built into the fact that this is an industry, right? So just breaking down the elements of an industry and saying, oh, well, it meets these qualifications. So this is why it exists. The motivations are there. Um, Industries have a labor force. You can't have an industry without manpower. There are people that are making this happen, right? So it's a fundamental component to any industry is having a labor force. Technology and innovation, right? There's still the question of how. How do you improve transport processes? How do you improve or make it more efficient to receive or not get caught, right? So there's innovation involved in that. So these aren't just stupid people, right? They're being creative.
Right.
I'm
Um,
sorry,
th-
just the way that you're talking
oh,
about it, like, because it's a business, it is. But just to hear it in those terms, it's like it is a lot of thought that go into this because it's $150 billion business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it has
So,
to be. It
but
has to be like, yeah, it
the
has
way
to
that
be
you're
well
breaking it down,
organized.
it's like a lot of people are involved that are in different sectors of life that are involved in continuing this oldest crime in the book.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because that's the way he's breaking it down is the way You don't think that's the way that the traffickers are breaking it down?
Man,
The
some
amount of
cost me
money
$2,000.
that they bring in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're not talking about
Woo.
any of these people as people.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
even seeing them as that. They're seeing them as a number
Mm-hmm.
and a price tag.
Yeah. There's marketing. Right. There's sales. There's networking and collaboration, because
Man,
none of this happens in a vacuum. Right. So we're talking about groups of people saying, hey, you do this and I'll do. So it's collections of people that are creating this network of criminal activity. Right.
Yeah,
There's associations, there's relationships, there's lifestyles and trends. Industries are well tied into lifestyles and trends. So again, if you're thinking about the demand is incubated in some sort of lifestyle or a trend of some sort. And then what really marks a industry is the globalization of it. So it's not just happening here in the United States.
it's happening all over.
everywhere.
Yet they keep um, implementing that the United States is the number one importer of child sex trafficking. Whew.
Mhm.
This will probably be a good time to even post that.
Good, good.
Oh, I don't have it. Dang it. I thought I sent it to me. And Ivy's not going to be here. She fell. She hurt herself. Love,
Mhm.
honey,
Mm.
we love you. We hope everything is all right. We miss you. Get better. Get well. But we got this, me, John, and Aaron. We got
Yes,
this.
yes.
You know what? Go ahead. I gotta find this video. I'm gonna post it.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So, one of the reasons, and again, I was thinking about this and just conducting a little bit of research on this. The top one is going to be demand, right? Um, the demand for commercial sexual acts, including the exploitation of individuals, fuels the existence of sex trafficking. As long as there is demand, traffickers are going to continue to exploit vulnerable people for profit. The next
Exactly.
reason, which goes into that, it's profitable. It's a highly lucrative criminal enterprise, right? Again, she just called out that number. Who ain't trying to? Well, I mean, obviously, morally upright individuals are staying away from that. Just understanding that all money ain't good money, right? But then you have to account for inequality and vulnerabilities, right? So socioeconomic status is a large contributor to this, right? If you are middle class, you're less likely to be involved. In terms of being victimized, you're less likely to be involved. But if you're poor, that increases your vulnerability. So inequalities and vulnerabilities are strongly tied into it. Then there's gender inequality that contributes to this. Gender inequality is, man, that's like almost like the first one, right? Just thinking about how women have been oppressed for centuries, right? And they've been the main ones, right? Women have been the main
Yes.
ones that have been profited from. Um, and that also kind of contributes to our social norms too, right? Then there's corruption, corruption of law enforcement, corruption of governments, corruption, and even in just economic entities. I think they contribute to the duration of not just human sex trafficking, but also child sex trafficking, right? Globalization. With it being global, I mean, it's kind of hard to forget that it even exists. I mean, if it was abolished over here, yeah, we could just, be
Yeah.
optimistic. If it was abolished over here, you know, being tapped into the global market, you're like, all right, well, it's not here, but I could go over there and make some money and
Right.
perpetuate it there.
Somewhere
Or, oh,
else.
shoot, you know what? I haven't found the market yet. It's not here. It's abolished in the United States, but maybe I can create, so there's opportunity, right? Um, and I think lack of awareness and stigma is a large contributor as to why it's been here for so long. Yeah, just not knowing, limited awareness, misconceptions, myths that surrounding sex trafficking. Um, a lot of people we have some skewed views surrounding it. Even
Yeah.
just if you even look at like the consumer's point of view, right? Like think about the men that are purchasing the services of children and women, right? Those mentalities. Um, how did they come up, right? Like just considering how were they raised as men, as boys, right? Pornographic images, right? Being exposed to pornography and even just being around the wrong peer group. You got to create. Again, this is why I say it's an industry in this sense. A lot of industries start priming their consumer base at childhood,
Early.
right? Just
Early.
think about McDonald's, think about Burger King, think about Kmart, right? All of your favorite brands out there, making their commercials, advertising, priming the youth, and in some ways engineering their consumer base. So that goes for the boys too. Boys, like you don't just become a man, 18, 21, and then you just do that. You had to have been
Right.
influenced. Like those seeds got to be planted a lot early. Otherwise, there's nothing there fueling that. Like, yeah, men are, well, boys are just horn dogs, right? 14 on up, boys are just horn dogs. So what is the object of that lust, of that desire, right? What is the motivation for him to even participate in something like that? Aren't you sensitive as a man? Like, how do you view women in order for you to
Right.
participate in this, right?
I think
And then
once the
again,
money exchange hands, they don't see them as a victim.
right?
Like once the money, once they see it as a product. You know,
Hmm.
once you're bought and paid for, you're not a victim. And then I'm sure a lot of people are so numb to it that they don't even
Mm,
show the displeasure.
mm,
You just don't even show any more displeasure. And then you got people out there that like to see people hurting.
mhm. Ooh,
Right.
yeah,
It shows on some of my notes I was looking at that we have to look at this as it's a human rights issue.
mhm,
It affects, just like you said, every race and class of people. Um, Anybody could be coerced or lured into this industry here. So we have to. They say the most requested age, the younger you are, the more money that you bring in, and the most requested age is 14-year-old
okay,
female,
14. Yeah,
which really makes you start questioning what's if that's the most requested age. What is really going on in this world? $150 billion industry, and the average person is a 14-year-old child.
yeah. And she's easy to bait, right?
Yeah,
The younger the
very.
girl, the more cooperative she is, right? So she's easy to bait. But also, it's they're if my memory serves correct, I think they're the higher price tag too, right? Even though they're pretty easy to bait, but they're still the higher price tag.
Hmm.
Traffickers know the psychology of female teenage brains. They know the psychology. They
Right.
know that around that age, girls are seeking validation. They're seeking empowerment. They got self-esteem issues. They're sampling different personalities, and a lot of them have complex trauma. Uh, and trauma makes you vulnerable to almost anything, right? But these are girls that probably have been molested as children. They've witnessed
Yeah.
domestic violence, um, diminished self-esteem, um, felt unloved by their parents, even though their parents may have loved them. They may have felt unloved or felt like they weren't respected. They're essentially easy targets because they've been bullied and knocked down. And then we can even go as far as to say that um, not having dad in the house, because what
Right.
girl would be subjected to anything that I had said, right? In terms of seeking validation and some male figure, offering promises. Like if you have a dad in your life that's already doing that stuff for you, you're
Right.
gonna look
You
at
don't
him
need
like,
it.
Yeah, you don't need it.
from the outside. Yeah, you don't need validation from the outside in because you've already had that validation.
Yeah.
It says 1 out of 5 of the victims is a child. Women are 2/3 of the world's traffic victims. And then the industries are because they took it off of um, the seedy areas and walking the streets and stuff like that. So that's what really blew this business up, this industry up, is because 80% of it is online. About 20% of it is strip clubs, pornography, and legal brothels. So it has taken people having to go out to, when we see on the old movies where they have to drive on the Holstro.
Yeah.
So it has taken that out because now you don't have to be in these questionable seedy areas. You just have it at the tip of your fingers, your smartphone or your computer, and just kind of basically put in an order like you do on Instacart and go from there.
Yeah, you schedule the meetup. Hey, is it at his place, hotel, or whatever?
Yep.
Yeah.
So back to the feelings of some of these girls.
It's at the hotel.
I'm sorry?
No, it's at the hotels. He was like, schedule a meetup. 90% of all these interactions are going down in hotels. A lot of them are being
that's
fooled
basically.
right yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's basically what the meetups. I think that's what he was talking about, where the meeting places were. You just go on there and they say meet here at such and so time. But go back to the hotels because that's definitely something that a lot of people need to be looking out for.
In today's daily world that we have going on. Right?
Columbus attorney Stephen Babin says Ohio is the 4th largest state in the country for human trafficking, and more than 95% of it happens in hotels.
It's a problem that's been in the hospitality industry forever.
Babin has filed more than 40 individual lawsuits against 6 hotel companies, including Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, Red Roof Inns, and Choice Hotels International, for allowing trafficking to occur on their property and profiting from human trafficking. Babin says the first case was filed in 2019, the first of its kind filed under a statute known as the Trafficking Victims Protection Act.
We have horror stories where people are handcuffed to toilets and hotel staff comes in and nobody does anything about it.
I reached out to the hotels for comment and only received a statement from Red Roof Inns, saying the company has nothing to add at this time and would refer you to the court filings.
We know it's a problem.
Columbus City Attorney Zach Klein says the city passed a hotel licensing system almost a decade ago when he was on the city council.
We have the ability to yank the license if there's a significant number of police runs, if there's a significant number of violence and crime, if there is evidence of human trafficking that is persistent and not addressed.
And he says those numbers have plummeted since implementing that system. Klein says he believes the owners should be held accountable.
They're the ears on the ground. They're the eyes on the activity that's happening, and they see all of this transpiring right in front of their eyes.
Babin says he is hoping the first of these cases will go to trial sometime next year. Carly Dion, 10 TV News.
So on a lot of these, I would just like to give some feedback. Red Roof Inn, Days Inn, and some of the Choice hotels. I think a lot of those are franchises.
So it's more than that.
You don't have corporate owners that have something to lose. Like the Marriott is a big name and they can't be affiliated. But Days Inn, if you notice, and I don't know if you've been to a Days Inn in 2023, but I've been to one in 2021, and basically the owners live in the hotel. Like you can see the people that own the hotel also stay there too. So it's like a private owner type deal because they bought into the franchise. So a lot of these have been, when these used to be better name or higher end hotels, they're no longer that anymore. Because since they have, and so I'm saying that to say this. A lot of these people don't care. They just want to rent rooms.
Wow.
Corporate, you may have, 50 hotels and one will make up for the other that's not making no money. But if you bought this hotel and you live in this hotel and this is your main source of income, do you really care? I mean, we ideally we should, but if you see how run down these places are starting to be, they're getting only a certain type of customer, and that's how they keep their rooms full.
And we're found at hotels. There it is. It's hit. Don't forget the Hilton and the
Mhm.
Marriott and Choice Hotel, G6 Hospitality, Red Roof Inn. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. John Wyndham Hotel and Resorts.
Wyndham. Uh-huh.
Wyndham.
Yeah, Wyndham Hotel and Resorts are also one of the places that are being sued for their connection with sex trafficking. Somebody just
And then a
posted
lot of people don't want to get involved.
at $150 billion, the cost of your life to have you taken out, a couple grand, if you're making too much noise. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, oh, what's crazy is it's funny you should say that because a lot of people have died before they can even come out or show
Mhm.
proof that this is what is going on.
Mhm.
Well, we're talking about information that that's already out there. So we're giving it back to the people. This is information that you can go online right now and find yourself. The people that have died behind this had detailed, intimate information on the workings on how all of this goes down, and they were taken out. So we're talking about $150 billion industry. Your life is nothing to them.
Right. Exactly. So it may
Nothing.
not even be in your benefit.
It
You
may not.
know, morally you want to help somebody,
You
but then
want
you
to
have to think
help.
about the consequences.
Yep, and people have died who have helped people.
Mhm.
This stuff is serious, which brings me back to something King Newborn said. They put it all in your face just to let you know that there is nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
It's like, what can we do about it? We can protect what we have at home. That's what we can do. I seen John's question today, and he said, "Have you talked to your children about child sex trafficking?" Yeah, because and when you think about the victims that they are targeting, are you loving on your children the way they need to be loved so they don't
You
go
know,
outside looking for it?
there you go.
Are
There
you
you
a
go. Because it
in that
starts at
home?
home.
Because it starts at home. Because they come in and establish trust with these children, make these promises with these children, be this wonderful person, this wonderful guy. And let's keep in mind, 65% of all the households that are ran in the Black community, the head of household is a woman. So who are them
Hmm.
children really looking up to?
Mhm.
They have no one to look up to. Mom is at work doing 2 or 3 jobs, going to school, trying to make sure that the children at home has everything they need. That window is open,
There you go.
But I
Definitely.
asked, I'm a single parent myself. I asked, how do you feel? You all right? You good? You loved? You cared for? Yeah. Sit down and ask those questions. Talk. Pay attention to your children,
And
so they
stop
don't
being
go.
afraid to have these conversations, because I know a
Mhm.
lot of people that have grown up and did not have these conversations with their parents, which I'm a lot of times I'm outdone about the whole thing. Like, you never talked to your mom never talked to you about this, but it's like never. And just because that's how you were communicated with as a child, don't communicate with your kids like that. And that goes
Mm.
all the way down to starting the menstrual cycle, to being unwelcome touching, unwelcome advances.
Yes.
All you need to keep these lines of communication open and make it where they can be able to trust you and the decisions that you're going to make for them, because if not, they're going to run to something or someone to fulfill that void.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
stop being afraid to have these conversations with your kids. Stop being afraid to discuss these not so pretty things with your children, because these discussions can definitely prevent a lot of things. And I'm not saying that your parents are perfect and you're going to catch everything in every discussion that
Mhm.
you have. You're going to be able to stop stuff, but at least you can be able to, at least if you have that line of communication, there's always warning before destruction.
Mm. Say that.
Yeah,
Say
that's
that.
real. Having those conversations. Yeah. I mean, of course, before the parents, and I understand why some are apprehensive, not just that it's uncomfortable, but parents have to do the research themselves too. And, sometimes
Right.
it's lazy parenting. We can call it what it is. A
Very.
lot of the times
Yep.
it's lazy parenting. And, there's certain things that, as parents, we view as, oh, you'll figure it out later. You're
Right.
just going to figure it out versus, you know what, let me do the legwork, get some of the education, and then just make them aware of it at
Right.
least, right? Because again, it's the stigmatization and the limited awareness that is one of the contributors to this industry being successful as it is. It's because we don't know. We're not educating ourselves. We're not aware.
No.
And even if we are aware, we think that, all right, we know a little something, and then that's all. That's where it just stops. As long as I'm aware of it and I'm just doing what I can for my household. All right, I saved my daughter or my daughters, and I did my part.
Right.
But what
See,
about everybody else?
yeah, I'm auntie, so I know it takes a village, and I don't care who kids it is. If you are under my umbrella, you will get that discussion. We will discuss unwanted touching. We get advances. We did somebody make you uncomfortable? What do you do when they make you uncomfortable? And
Hmm.
because I know some people don't know how to have those conversations, and I know that I'm comfortable with it, so I don't have a problem having these conversations. And we talking about 5 and 6 years old, because we need to start early. What do you do if somebody makes you fearful? What do you do if a 12-year-old, your friend's 12-year-old brother says, come here around this building? We put scenarios in there and everything, because anything is possible, and I want you to be ready. And I want you to know that if we're talking about it's wrong together, if we're having a discussion and I'm telling you it's wrong and you have an understanding that it's wrong, then you won't second guess yourself and say, well, maybe it'll be okay. Because it's
Mm.
never going to be okay.
Right.
You'll never go around that building. I don't
Yeah.
care what they have over.
Right.
If it's
Right.
puppies, candy, flowers,
Right.
unicorns, and sprinkles, you don't go around that corner.
I can't with you. Unicorns and
I'm sorry.
sprinkles.
You know I can't help it.
Unicorns. Love Shine. You posted my previous job. You worked with wards of the state, and some of them was being sex trafficked, and were found at hotels. That brings me to this video right here. I gotta go. Let me bring this video up. I'm sorry. This is Nancy Schaefer and her views on CPS.
Accountability in child protective services. I have come to several conclusions. 2 or 3 are: one, that poor parents, not always, but oftentimes, are targeted to lose their children because they do not have the wherewithal to hire an attorney and fight the system. That caseworkers and social workers are very often guilty of fraud. They withhold and destroy evidence. They fabricate evidence, and they seek to terminate parental rights unnecessarily. That the separation of families and the snatching of children is growing as the business grows, because state and local governments have grown accustomed to having these taxpayer dollars to balance their ever-growing budgets. That the bureaucracy is huge. Look at who is getting paid: state employees, attorneys, court investigators, guardian ad litems, court personnel and judges. There are psychologists, therapists, psychiatrists, counselors, foster parents, adoptive parents, and on and on. All are looking to the children in state custody to provide job security. That the Adoption and the Safe Families Act, set in motion first in 1974 by Walter Mondale and later in 1997 by President Bill Clinton, offered cash bonuses to the states for every child they adopted out of foster care. In order to receive the adoption incentive bonuses, local child protective services would need more children. They must have merchandise that sells, and they must have plenty so the buyer can choose. Some counties often offer $4,000 to $6,000 bonus for each child adopted out to strangers, and an additional $2,000 for a special needs child. employees work to keep the federal dollars flowing. But that is only the beginning figure in the formula in which each bonus is multiplied by the percentage that the state has managed to exceed its baseline adoption number. Therefore, states and local communities work hard to reach their goals for increased numbers of adoptions for children in foster care. As you can see, this program is offered from the very top and is run by Health and Human Resources. This is why victims in Child Protective Services get no help from their legislators. It explains why my bill, Senate 415, suffered such defeat in the Judicial Committee, and why I was cut off at every juncture, and why I was defeated myself last month for my re-election by another Republican. That tax dollars are being used to keep this gigantic system afloat. Many grandparents have called me to get custody of their grandparents before being lost in the system. Grandparents who lose their grandchildren to strangers have lost their own flesh and blood. The children lose their family heritage, and grandparents, and parents too, lose the connection of their heirs. And that the National Center on Child Abuse and Neglect in 1998 reported that 6 times more children died in foster care than in the general public, and that once removed to official safety, these children are far more likely to suffer abuse, including sexual molestation, than in the general population. Think what that number is today, 10 years later.
Whew. Woo.
That
Oof.
brought tears to my eyes to think that the people that's supposed to be protecting us, they got incentives.
Yeah,
And this crazy is this Nancy Schaefer. She
that
was
is
murdered
Nancy Schaefer. Yeah, go ahead.
in 2010.
Yeah.
So we 13 years later, and I believe if the movie what's the movie that we
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom, I believe if that never came out, none of this stuff would have resurfaced. That she was murdered in 2010.
Yeah.
This information is
her and her husband.
Her husband, right? Her and her husband. After these speeches, after her blowing the whistle on this, so it looks like they just swept everything under the rug, and then this Sound of Freedom came out, and now it's resurfacing.
Yeah.
But the information highway is longer than it was 13 years ago, so it's getting out to more people and bringing more attention to the situation, and that is just absolutely insane that your local CPS has something to do with some of these kids being sex trafficked.
In every state, there is a number of children in every state that under CPS is missing. Go look up your state.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's about 200 here in Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah. Go look your state up. Several. And the number one state for child sex trafficking is California.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Especially South LA.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you gotta think, all right, so we're providing a service, and the main consumer base is men. Where do men go? What activities do they participate in? You know, so there's conventions, there's sports games, right? There's all kinds of social events that's going on, and all you got to do is just have the right seller, right pimp in the area.
Yeah.
To say, hey, you know, you looking for some extra fun? You know, and we know that, again, since these are men, a lot of these events are accompanied by married men, right? So the buyers are gonna come with different racial, age, demographics, right? They're not going to all be the same.
No.
But a lot of them are married. So when you think about the sales, in terms of the hubs, it's going to mostly be the major cities because that's where there's the
Yeah.
most human activity. It's not to say
New
that they don't
York.
happen in rural areas, but you're going to see higher concentrations in the city limits.
Yeah.
More events,
Uh,
more tourists
yeah.
coming in and out.
Yep.
That. Oh, top human trafficking cities in the U.S. New York is on there. You just said it. People love to flock
Uh,
to the Big Apple.
yeah,
Phoenix,
Atlanta,
Arizona,
Miami.
Philadelphia, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Jose, San Diego, Dallas, Texas, Portland, Oregon, Columbus, Ohio.
Wow.
Now, Columbus, Ohio, wasn't they in the news a couple months back in May for a whole bunch of missing kids coming up missing in like a short period of time? Either I know it was somewhere in Ohio. Was it
It
Columbus or
was a it was the state of Ohio. I don't know the city, but definitely, yeah, definitely the state, and it was all within like a 2 month period.
yeah?
Yeah.
San Francisco, Detroit, Michigan, Baltimore, Maryland, Sacramento, California, Orlando, Florida.
Mm.
Ooh. And then the top five is Miami, Florida. Lord
Mhm.
have mercy. What else? Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, Miami, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston.
This one threw me. Washington, District of Columbia.
Oh, DC. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where all the congressmen are. Where you think all the freaks is at?
Mm.
At the White House. Let me
Two
quit.
was Las Vegas, Nevada. That was number two. But this one also threw me for a loop. The number one place for child sex trafficking is Houston, Texas.
Yeah. Houston is
They're near the
growing. Is
border.
growing.
Is
Yeah, and
yeah,
what is Houston, like the fourth largest city in the United States? So
third.
it's growing yeah. So the numbers are growing so big, and they're having so many events and so many attractions. And then you got to think about, you can walk right across the street and be in Mexico. It's not that far away.
Right.
So it's easy to traffic anything across the border. Hell, they trafficking
It
any and
happened.
everything across that border.
The highest rate of human trafficking in the US. The highest rate.
And then it borders a lot of other states, so I could see that being a hub
A
for
hub. If
for
Texas is a hub, Missouri is a transport state because we hit other states around us as well.
right.
So Texas is a hub, Missouri is a transport state. Ooh. This brings me to an ooh, did I send it? Let me get this other video. I swear.
We got some questions. I can't see the
So,
users. Somebody said that they worked for CPS for 20 years and they've seen a lot,
Mm.
ooh,
which I can
Mm.
imagine. Stuff you got to
who is
overlook.
that? I wanted to
Let's
foster a
see.
few years
Who's
ago, but I
that?
didn't continue down that path. But I can definitely believe that. Who is that? Can you
Oh, that's
call
Love
Yeah,
Sean. That's
Love
Love Sean.
Shine? Oh my God, I love Love Shine.
Mm.
She's one
yeah,
of
I
our
definitely wanted to do foster care, um, but I don't, because I don't, I never, I wanted to do it, but I don't want what comes with it, and those are the parents, because a lot of times you got to build a relationship with the parents, and my mouth is too. Sometimes I don't have control over this thing in front of my face, and I may be overstepping my bounds and some of that. I can say it with couth, but people take offense when you talk about their parenting. So
yeah.
yeah, I kind of skipped out on that one.
Okay. These are sad stories too. Even Miss Renee, I'm not sure who she is. Yeah, this is a sad story too. I can believe it. Oh yeah, I would not doubt it. Let me see if
Also,
I
to
can. Go
put
ahead.
something in perspective here, 5 to 6% of American men pay for sex. 5 to 6%. I think there's about 161 million men. 320. Yeah, so it should be like 160 something million men, right? So you do 5% of that, right? 5% of that. You're looking at maybe 9 million modestly, right? That multiplies, like just now you start adding dollar figures to that, right? 8 to 9 million consumers, right? Roughly, and that's just the men, roughly. And then you're charging $40 here, 40 there, 40 there. That accumulates. So that's how we start getting to those, right? And that's just on the lower end. We're not even talking about the elites yet. That's paying, you know, higher amounts for whatever it is that they're
Right,
doing, right?
right. That's the low end, and
Yeah,
it
that's the
goes,
low end.
it increases, I guess.
And there
But
is no such
what
thing as a
it's
typical
what you're
John, by
saying
the
is
way.
lacking. Like what you were saying? What are you lacking?
Mm.
Because sometimes, and I don't know, and I know I don't want to be, off the wall, but have you seen some of these $40? I'm just being, because is it the thrill of
Well,
paying for it,
so
or
that's what I
is
was saying
because I'm trying
earlier.
to be for real, like, because some of these
Yeah.
I wonder, like, why would you even give them $40? And
Well,
is it the thrill of the payment, or is it the
Well, okay, so the
I'm trying to figure
philosophy
out
is
which.
the general
Mhm.
philosophy is you're paying for them to leave. Now, again, if we're just talking adult women, you're paying for them
Mhm.
to leave, right? So
Thank you. I was
it's
just getting ready to say that.
yeah, that's
Stop
the
paying in the
general
buck. I'm paying
philosophy.
to
That's the
leave.
general philosophy. But you know, the character. So for one, there's no typical quote unquote John, right? They call them Johns, right? But a lot of them are seeking an escape. A lot of them just they have a high libido. They love having sex. They have fantasies that are unfulfilled. And then, like I was saying earlier, a lot of these men are conditioned. It's normalized for them, right? I
Right.
mean, if you were to look at the search history of their pornographic viewership, right, you're probably gonna see some weird stuff, right? So it was there before they even, hey, I'm making money. Like it was kind of already there. It was just nurtured over time, and then you hear some things, you network, and oh, where like what's their first experience like? And again, these are married and single men, right? And then a lot of them have certain beliefs about who they're interacting with. Like, all right, they believe that women like to be sexualized. They believe that women and children love these experiences. You got to have those beliefs, otherwise it doesn't work. So in some ways we could say it's desperation in some ways, but again, if you're a married man, this could also just be a fetish. And again, this is just a demand. So someone's capable of filling that demand. It may not be this person right here or these people right here, but yeah.
I'm gonna go
Yeah,
back
just
to
I
sex
don't know.
trafficking. That's wild, but okay. Sex
Yeah, and they
trafficking
know
is
it's illegal. Let's be clear. These men know it's illegal. They know it's
Right,
illegal.
right, and they are willing to risk over $40, and I'm not talking about the children because that's a whole nother level of
that
risk and a
is
whole nother crazy. But just the basic man and woman transaction, like you said, it's got to be something that you'll risk it all, because who wants that on your criminal record?
These are law enforcers.
Buying or selling.
These are politicians.
Right.
These are teachers. These are military men. These are service members. Right?
Yep. Hit it. Hit it. He is hitting it all. Yeah. These people are everywhere. They're your next door neighbors. They're the people you're sitting next to in the grocery store, in the
Right.
bank. They're next to you on the side of the car at the stoplight. They are everywhere and they hide it well. I'm sorry. Damn. I lost it.
I mean, in a sense, I mean, it's in a way, it's kind of survival. Like they have to do that, right?
Man,
So
because they know the rest of the world, because it is frowned upon. What does
Not even just frowned upon, like, there's some criminal action that's
a child?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a child? Like a child.
And I guess that moment of pleasure is
Or
easier
whatever
than
they want to call it. That's not pleasure.
well,
It's
not with the
abuse.
not with the
Not with-
children. I'm
yeah.
still on the adult. The moment
Right.
of pleasure is easier than having a mistress, especially if you're married. I guess that may be one of the factors. Now, as far the children, like I said, that's a whole another level that is not even I can't even
It's not.
fathom.
I can't because it's not acceptable.
I
But they are
can't even
trying to make
fathom,
it.
as taboo as it is, that a person would go and seek out that comfortably.
Yeah.
Like, are you how do you first your first encounter of doing that? How do you get that comfortable to seek out someone that sells children? What mindset, and I know it's a lot of mental health issues and so on and so forth. I get that, but I'm just saying morally,
Yeah.
what makes you say, I'm gonna go see if I can find a 14-year-old little boy today?
Yeah. How do you do that?
Is there a fix for that? Is there a I mean, is there counseling? Is there some type of fix for that? What do you
Yeah.
do?
How did she just said it? How do you fix your mouth to even
Fix your mouth
ask?
to ask that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because we live in the United States, the land of the free. You're free to do
Right.
whatever you want as long as you don't get caught doing it.
Oh,
People like
exactly.
this, they have been given lenient sentences. How do you rape a child and get out in 5 or 6 years, but someone selling an ounce of dope can get 25? How?
5 years.
You let it be
Make it
known
make
right there.
sense.
You showed it right there. This is how we treat pedophiles. Why? Because you're probably up
Right.
against, you're probably the judge probably
And they
sympathizes
are
with you because he
protected.
does the same thing.
Yeah. And they are a protected class in prison.
Yeah.
Used to be they could be jumped on and abused in the state of
Yes.
Missouri. If you touch a
Yes.
pedophile or you harm them in any type of way, that's another felony count.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So you're protecting them when you should be cutting off their penises and actually hanging them from trees. I'm sorry.
Doing that where you should where
That's a
they
child.
should be on the
That's a child.
they should be on death row instead
Yeah.
of a protected class. Yeah. You
Mhm.
can't
Yeah.
they can't do anything to
Yeah.
that. I mean, they can if they want to.
They can't. Yeah. Because it used to be a point where they would get their ass beat.
Yeah,
They would
back in the
get their
day.
ass beat, they cookies taken, stabbed up, made to be, excuse my language, bitchs.
Yeah.
Now they are protected
Uh-huh.
because they want to say, oh, now this is a mental illness. This is just, no, it's a child.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a child.
So any sex crimes, any person that's done a sex crime, that jumping on, that killing, that whatever they used to do back in the day, and I don't know when it passed. I'm not going to give you. I know only reason I know is early 2000s because I knew people that was in prison at the time, and these were
Yeah.
the discussions that was had, and I was outdone. And I
They-
probably can look it up real quick and tell you.
They were doing this. They started this years ago, though. I remember watching this on 60 Minutes, how they were going to try to start creating space for child predators to protect them while they serve out their sentences in jail. Why? Why? They destroyed another human being mentally. A person is never the same after
No.
suffering that type of trauma. You are constantly healing. No, how do you do that? And then you only give them a certain amount of a short period of time. Like it's better to, like you made it seem like it's better to go jail for touching a child than it is for you to have an ounce of weed.
Yeah.
It is people in jail right now for things not even closely related to that as touching a child, and has more sentence than the person that touched the child. And then when they get out, they tend to do the same thing over and over again.
Same thing.
You cannot rehabilitate that. That is their desire. That is what they want. You cannot rehabilitate a person who prefers to have a child.
They try to, but it's
How?
not. It's never a success. And that's such a. I don't know, when you start crossing the lines
Yeah.
with different sex acts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, let me just raise this question, right?
Go ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
aren't prison systems responsible for the safety and security of the inmates?
The prison systems are responsible for the keeping the free labor going. Come on now, let's just be real. Free labor.
But yes, ideally, yes.
Yeah, ideally, yes, but for the most part, it's about free.
I mean, you have folks in there that have, there again, we know that there are folks in there for misdemeanors and, small felonies and such. So again, are we saying that even those folks deserve to be in an environment where there's a high risk of death?
A child predator?
We're talking about inmates. Why
okay.
do people go to prison? We're talking about it doesn't matter who you are, what you did. You're called an inmate. You are all inmates. Don't matter how big or small the crime. You in there, they consider you an inmate, right? So let's just remove the child sex. Let's just remove the sexual assaults. Let's remove the pedophiles,
prison
right?
in general.
All right. Now, folks committed larceny, domestic violence, right? Trafficking drugs, white collar fraud. They're all going to the same space, relatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So does the prison not have an obligation to protect those folks? Because otherwise, why don't you just give them the death penalty then?
And as you saying this, I just pulled up zero tolerance policy. Every incarcerated individual has the right to be free from sexual abuse and harassment in accordance with the Prison Rape Elimination Act. The Missouri Department of Corrections has a zero tolerance policy for all forms of offender sexual abuse and harassment.
So it's an umbrella term, right? So basically, they do have an obligation. Unless they're going to kill you themselves, right? Now, it's not to say that there isn't a culture there. We understand that. That's why we have these protections here, right? But there is a culture there, right? And again, it's not like the prison came up with that rule. Like there were inmates in there that they have this code of ethics, this code of conduct that, all right, we find out that you did this, we get in you, right? That's their own thing. They ain't got nothing to do with us. They ain't got nothing to do with the prison system, right? So again, you have that culture versus, what the society wants to see. Because hey, we are society too. And you don't really know if you're going to be, we can influence our likelihood, but you don't know whether you're going to end up in there or not, right? And that's a fear for a lot of us, is going to prison. First, just being in there, and then, what's life going to be like afterwards, right? So just imagine going into the same environment as a murderer, right? So you mean to tell me this dude over here, or this chick over here killed somebody, and I'm not going to be protected? Like they killed somebody else, and I got to bunk with them, or I got to eat lunch with them. We gonna work out in the same space. I ain't gonna get no protection. So you have to extend that. You have to think. The judge, the law said you have to serve this sentence, and we want you to see that sentence through because we're trying to correct you. So it's the idea that psychologically, even though there's no real likelihood of it, but psychologically they're going to rehabilitate you with time. They're going to release you assuming that you feel remorse for what you did, right?
And you're
but
right
you
about
got to
that,
see the
they got
sentence through.
A rehabilitation 12-month program. I'm reading all as you saying this. I'm like, he's saying everything that's real that they already provide.
That's right here.
They have
here.
But the prison system they have some responsibility to the society, right? The society has an expectation communicated to their politicians, from the politicians to them, right? They are not in absolute power. They work for somebody too, right? So it makes sense. And I understand the majority of us are going to agree that pedophiles deserve to be whatever happens to them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
and they protect it because it's not a good look to have that many deaths, unexplainable deaths, if you think about it, regardless of who they are, because they're just a number. Nobody cares.
I also want to throw out there that they do there is a consideration that pedophilia is a mental illness, right? So you get protections, especially if your lawyer puts you through mental health court. You're likely going to get some added protections.
Don't kill them. We gonna fix them.
And some actually get rehabilitated. There are shows, there are documentary. Yes, yep. You gotta, but you gotta want, you gotta want to look at it. You gotta want. The Queen, she watches stuff like that all the time. They have organizations, they have advocacy groups for them. There are some that are just like, hey, it's a sexual orientation, just like you like women and you like men and you like the same sex. You know, so the psychologists, they look at it like, all right, you know, this is a mental illness, but in the scope of sexual orientation. And a lot of these guys are suffering. A lot of these women are suffering. It's like, what do you do? Like, imagine you like men, but you can't have any. You guys like men, but you can't have any.
Yeah,
like,
but
just imagine.
I'm like, there are ways to refrain from certain things too.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not them.
I mean, I'm not saying that everybody is able to do. I know what you're saying, but I'm just like,
I'm just saying that
you can't have what you want.
Right. It's the self-control factor, right? It's easy for us to say it because we don't have the attraction. It's easy for us because we're like, this is normal, right? So that's the perspective we have to take if we're choosing to be compassionate here, right? But for some of those folks, if you really just listen to some of their interviews, you're like, dang, you know, I mean, it's still up, but you legitimately have a problem. Like, just imagine what it's like to not get your desires fulfilled, you know, and there are mental illnesses for that too. There's like, if you do that for a while, right? But it's easy for us to say it because we don't dabble in that.
Right.
So it's just
true.
We're just thinking, oh, you hurt somebody, you deserve to die. And it's that simple. Versus ain't no rehabilitating that.
He's so good with bringing that in where he plays the devil's advocate, but he does make you think. Which right now I'm like, F them, and I don't give a F.
Right.
You got all the bleeps coming in, but I understand what he's saying. I definitely understand what you're saying.
Now, I'm not saying all of them deserve that. I want to be clear here. I'm still on this. Hey, man, like you gotta get penalized for this. I mean, See, right. Again, I'm not taking the full reins on this, but I'm just saying there's a class of them, right? All pedophiles are not the same, just like all gays are not the same. All heteros, all Democrats are not the same. So the ones that were like, oh, you knew what you were doing and you were exploiting, blah 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 blah, blah, and you maliciously, all right. We talking about castration and all that. All right, cool. But the ones that are like, yo, do you know how long I've been dealing with this? I've been dealing with this for 23 years. I've never took advantage of anybody, and I slip up and blah, blah, blah. Right? So you hear those stories and it's like, dang, what do you do? Like, again, it's easy to say when it's not you. John, what would you have me do? Would you have me shoot this guy or not? Like, oh man, I haven't been in. Exactly. So shut up. Like, someone could easily tell me to shut up about their experience because I don't experience it. Right now, I can speak to experiences where it's like, all right, I'm sharing the same struggle as you, and I did this. Right. And I know everything don't work for everybody. Right. But if I'm gonna act, or if I'm gonna, exact justice and make a comparison, I need to make sure that I'm on a similar playing field. I don't know what it's like to be an amputee, so I'm not going to speak to that experience. I don't know what it's like to be a pedophile, so I'm not even going to try. I will empathize accordingly when I see some remorse and all this. There's conditions for that, but for most of them, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay.
We can say death penalty all day, every day.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's all I needed to hear. That's it. That's it. Let me find this video. Let me see if I think I posted. No. Woo! This is another whistleblower. I do not know her name. I'm about to
Before you pull that up, like, share,
Rhodas,
subscribe,
and
please.
thanks
Wait a minute.
to
Wait a minute. Okay, go ahead.
I was just letting everybody know, like, share, and subscribe.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Here's another one. Here's another video.
And thanks to Project Veritas and James O'Keefe for publishing the story, I was sitting on the Pomona Fairplex emergency intake site processing unaccompanied children. So you may know that children were coming to this country from other countries. We were taking them into the care, HHS, and then delivering them to sponsors, unvetted sponsors throughout the United States. So because one whistleblower came forward and because one organization was willing to tell the truth, I was able to then uncover and report that the U.S. government is the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation. We literally have government-sponsored, taxpayer-funded child trafficking. So one whistleblower coming forward, telling the truth, sets in motion a cascade of things that you could never imagine. So I was very grateful for the opportunity for someone to tell the truth. And who knows, maybe one of you could be the next person to come forward. So, along with my buddy Aaron, I'm going to continue to speak the truth until children are rescued, criminals are prosecuted, and the United States government no longer is putting billions of dollars to traffic children.
Woof.
And I hope she lives.
Man.
Because we see the last lady
Died.
her and her husband
died. Yeah, but she said it wasn't until someone else came out that she felt that she like, okay, he whistleblower, let me go ahead and tell my story too. So a domino effect, hopefully, if that's what they're trying to achieve. What are some common traits observed among some sex traffickers?
Manipulative, coercive.
yeah.
They're very skilled at manipulation and coercion.
But how skilled do you have to be to manipulate a 13, 14, 12, 11, 10-year-old?
Some of them not even manipulative.
That's
some
coming
of
from
them
broken homes.
Are tyrants. You know, they some that they can have
finesse bullying or finesse pimping or guerrilla pimping.
Guerrilla pimping, yeah.
They use violence. Yep.
And then we have to think about the ones that are basically being kidnapped and lured in. And then another thing is you have to realize it's chemically restrained. Because they start even the kids, they start these kids off on drugs. If you get them on drugs, you know, think about it. They get addicted to drugs. You'll start doing different things, different sex acts without any they don't have to, you know, have any encouragement, any enforcement, right? Any resistance. Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go. No resistance whatsoever. And at the end of the day, if they keep feeding them these drugs, they can get anything they want out of them.
In Taken, they had that tent set up to where those different rooms where those girls was being shot up with heroin.
And the way the fentanyl, you know, that's a whole nother story, but the way the fentanyl epidemic is, and the way they got these kids just strung out on it, I think almost everything got fentanyl in it nowadays.
Man.
And it's cheap. So don't take much to take much money to put in. You don't have to invest much money into it. And you got 5 or 6 girls, 14, 15-year-old girls strung out on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're exploitative, right?
Yeah.
The way that they view their victims, this is just a thing that makes money.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Yep.
lack of empathy, a disregard
Yeah.
for human dignity,
Yeah.
emotionally numb, right?
Yeah.
And then also these individuals have access to criminal networks. And again, this is organized crime. It's organized,
Very.
spans across local, national, and international boundaries. Um, yeah, it's very well organized though. They even have satellites. I remember coming across a piece of information that said that they even use satellites to monitor the logistics, transportation, and monitoring of their victims. And then there's the targeting of the vulnerable individuals. Like they have to prey on the weak.
Wait a minute. 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 Satellites
Mhm.
to
All right, so I know I don't know if we spoke about this in the group, but
wait a minute.
there was an incident where there was a oh my gosh, we call them mill vans in the military, but it's those long containers, those long shipment containers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there was a report where we talked about this in the group. I think it was a few weeks ago.
We
I
did.
think it was
Uh,
that was a container, right? But those have RFID tags, and RFID tags are tracked by satellite. So again, we ain't just talking just onesies and twosies here. It's also groups. And if you have a large
right.
shipment like that, how are you going to track that? How are you going to know where it's going? You got to have eyes on that. And it's not too hard to get a RFID tracker. It's not too hard. I mean, it's somewhat sophisticated, but if we're talking about an organization, I just said earlier, part of the industry is technology and innovation.
You did. You did. You did.
So why wouldn't satellites be? Because I mean, you got to monitor. This is a
Satellite.
product
That
that's
lets you
moving.
know. When you said the word satellite, the first thing I'm thinking is billions of dollars. This is some high end shit. This is something.
All you need is access for a satellite. You just get
Oh
a good
man.
tech guy. I mean, if you got a dark web,
I see. I don't dark web. I've never been on, but I heard
they're
it's called
connecting
dark
via
web
satellite.
for a reason. It's
They're
called the
connecting.
dark web for a reason.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some smart people in these industries, yo. It's just, again, everybody's not doing the same thing. Everyone's not exposed to the same material or same aspects of the industry.
Yeah.
So if you're an IT guy and you went underground and you're just being paid to track shipments, that's all you do. You work for about 6-7 hours and then
Yeah.
boom, you're back to your normal
Right. You don't
life.
even know what's
Like
in
you
the
don't,
shipment. You just know you get
yeah, you
paid a
don't
lot of
see the
money.
You just
details.
know you
Yeah.
get paid to where's
Right.
that shipment at? Oh, it's in Houston, Texas right now. Sam Houston.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Because
just think
everybody don't
how
need
do
to
you,
know what's going on.
Yeah.
like how do you track your shoes that's coming from China? They give you a shipment
Man.
and say you got to track it. I mean, again, this is a business. This is an industry. You got to
Right.
track it. You got to know who is going where. Why are they going there? And,
Right.
these are details. There's details in this. It ain't just, okay, I got her, and then we got to figure out what to do. They already
Right.
know what
Because
to
we
do.
got
There's a
you got
system.
street level
Hmm.
where it's just more of a personal relationship. And then you have this big conglomerate like the corporate level, like the McDonald's, that they're bringing girls in from all over the place or bringing children in from all over the place. What's the best thing to do is take somebody take somebody from where they from, where they're not familiar with, and make them do whatever. Because once we get you away from what you're familiar with, we can pretty
Ooh,
much make you do whatever because
yeah.
it's only going to take you one time to realize that you belong to us.
Hold
Mm.
on. That made me understand what I just read. Oh my God. Sex trafficking is a high profit and low risk business where the commodity, the human body, can be sold repeatedly. Low risk. Once you take them out of their environment and put them in another environment, you're good. You're good to go. Wow.
Yeah. We can even go from state to state. If I take you from Ohio to Las Vegas,
Yeah,
you can be scared how I'm gonna get home. I don't have no
right. I
money.
better not
I'm
say a
out
word.
here.
I better
The
not
only
say
right, the
anything.
only
I'm
person I
scared.
got is him.
Yeah,
Hmm.
And then we
or
have on
her.
another level,
Wait a
right,
minute,
that they bring from Russia
or
all
her,
the way over here. Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah. Because there's some hers in the game too.
there are some hers in the game. We talked about one earlier. I don't want to say her name, but she has been pictured with a lot of high profile sexual predators over here in the United States and abroad.
Yeah. So you take people out of their element, and all
Hmm.
they got to rely on is you,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
and especially a child. Think about a child. It don't take much to scare them.
And they shut down and
Mm.
become quiet and don't talk.
Hmm.
You can literally take a little girl and have her looking like a little boy within the hour by cutting her hair. And now you're walking out the store with her.
Yep.
Change your clothes. Now you're in the car with her.
Right. And
Depending
she
on where
don't know
you're
nothing
located,
or
she don't
nobody.
know
How she
nothing.
gonna?
No,
Yeah. How
nobody.
she gonna
She's just
get to
in
the bus
shock.
station?
She's in a
Yeah.
state of shock. Next thing you know, you are an hour later, you're across the border
Hmm.
to another state. And that little
Scared
girl,
to death. Who I'm gonna tell, how I'm gonna tell. This the only person
yeah,
that I got, and this person right here is gonna kill me if I do or say anything.
yeah.
Just think about bringing dozens of them across the borders, and I'm talking about the United States borders. Now we got you in a foreign land. It sounds like something United States is used to doing, don't it?
With a color coded bracelet.
Mm.
Mm.
All children of different ages come over with different color coded bracelets.
And how are you getting these children through customs?
Mm.
Because
We
ain't
don't.
every cargo shipment, every cargo, what are they called? The containers?
Yeah.
Aren't they
Mm.
supposed to be searched?
He just said they got satellite. This is a
But I'm
billion-dollar
saying
business.
to get them through
Everybody is
customs.
being paid off.
Right.
So, I mean, we do have like movies that kind of capture this a little bit, and it might
Yeah.
seem exaggerated, but yeah, so when I said the
I
meal
just,
van, the containers, that's a
mm-hmm.
real thing, right?
Yeah.
And then, uh, unfortunately, yes, customs could be,
Yeah, because I'm like, that was
paid to
basically
China.
a rhetorical question. Like, how are you getting them through customs? Because we're back to our government. That sound familiar. I mean, it sounds familiar that they are used to importing physical bodies and putting them to work for free.
Yeah, and then there's smuggling. It doesn't have to be just through the conventional channels. There is
Right.
smuggling. I mean, we do have a Coast Guard, but they don't get it right all the time.
Hell, they didn't found submarines full of heroin. So yeah, you're right. They don't get it all. They don't get it right all the time. I, it's an hour and 28 minutes.
Yeah, and it's a heck of a rabbit hole, and we still got more to
Man,
cover.
and
Yeah.
we didn't even talk about
The
yeah
elite.
the elite, the people with the money that I was watching a show. We'll talk about that next week, but I was watching a series about a man who's in jail right now for all the sex trafficking and having sex with underage girls. But when he, in the beginning of him being accused of dealing with raping women, the newspaper refused to run the stories because other people were pulling out as far as using this newspaper for their advertisement. And they basically told the newspaper, you run this story, we're pulling out. So they stopped running the stories about this man being accused of raping these women. And this is why he was able to get away with it for so long, because he was protected. They protect their own. Okay. I'm gonna leave that at that. I'm I'm gonna leave that right there.
Yeah, there's
John,
a lot. There's a whole nother level
that's a whole nother.
that we
So
It's
can
you
go
want to
into.
levels to this
you want to
shit.
discuss prevention and response next week then?
John, we can't prevent this.
There are some things that we can do, but
At
we'll talk
home.
about next week.
At
We'll
home.
talk.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
Okay.
say
yeah.
we can start off
We
at
can
home.
at
Definitely start
home.
off at home.
Yeah. Because don't forget they have breeders. That's enough for tonight. I want to
Can
thank
we put a dip?
everybody. I want to thank everybody for jumping in on tonight's live. This is things that people don't want to talk about. Tonight's topic was it was a heavy one, but it was also a good one. I hope you came, you saw, you walked away with more knowledge as to what's going on around us when it comes to human trafficking. Do we have the number to post?
Oh yeah. So we can leave this up while
Yeah,
um,
it was the National Human. Oh, I'm okay. I hope
It's
so.
your chakra
Yeah.
spreading that good information.
The National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888-373-788. We didn't even talk about the Amber Alert. It's so much
We
that
got
you can. Yeah.
that could
This,
be embedded into the solution. Yeah, because
yeah.
that's one of our responses. Our yeah, that's one of our responses to it. If you think about it,
it's
it
one
wasn't
of
always
our.
there. Yeah.
We're going to talk more about it next week. Again, I want to thank everyone for jumping in on tonight's live. I really appreciate you all being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the live. Invite people over to the group. Things that people don't want to talk about. We're going to come back next week and do a part 2 of human trafficking. We're going to talk about prevention and resources. Oof. John, you got
Heavy.
anything for us tonight? Yeah, it was heavy.
It was supposed to be Ivy tonight, right? But I kind of anticipated
Oh,
this. Yeah, it was supposed to be Ivy, but I'm just gonna do a oldie but a goodie since we, briefly mentioned trauma. I'm gonna do
okay,
an old
great.
one but a good one. So I
Okay.
said, trauma is a tree that's deeply rooted in you. Now it's in your seeds, and you see it grew as they grew. You try to chop it down just to see it renew. It's Texas hip hop. If you chop it, then you're screwed. I guess my childhood represents the Garden of Eden. Got me wishing that I was guarded from eating the forbidden fruits and consuming the juices bleeding on the leaves of a tree that's stuck in the autumn season. Snakes live in the grass, the biggest live in the trees. They teach forbidden knowledge to children who cannot read. Innocent Eve got the body of Serena Williams, yet she has the mind of a teen. Trauma is a tree rooted in a fertile mind of fertile lies. Trauma can't grow unless it's fertilized by dirty looks and unconscious fears and watered by depressive tears. If trauma is a tree, we live in a forest. That's what you call family trauma. Our soil is the poorest, like the one in Mortal Kombat. What are we fighting for? When will we realize we really don't want that? The wind is a trigger. It's ruffling the leaves, bending to its will, low self-esteem, head held high because it's hung from a rope, soon to be hanging by a thread called hope.
Mm.
Avoiding shadow work while throwing some shade, you think accountability is a prison you must escape. I went out on a limb to give you some therapy, but you never stick to it. You're always prepared to leave. Trauma is a tree. I pray it don't elevate. The tree of life gives me air. The tree of death takes my breath away like a Derek Chauvin in my neck of the woods, where we neglect our mamas while protecting our trauma. Trauma is a tree. You turn it all into paper to write about the stressors that stem from your oppressors, entertained by your suffering, profiting off the value of your pain. But that blood money never amounts to the healing that you need and the happiness it can't buy. Trauma is a weeping willow, but it can't cry itself to sleep. Mama said go outside and grab a switch off the trauma tree. She beat you till you were sick. Like a martial artist, she got a kick out of gaslighting you. She said you let her, like Willie Lynch. See, you were just a plant on a plantation, grounded in the past, waiting for eternal damnation. Temporary relief is what you're chasing. But if they uproot you out the jungle, that's gentrification. If a trauma tree falls, it won't make a sound. So water it with gasoline and burn it to the ground. Salute.
Salute. I'm so mad. I gotta finish my piece because y'all just
Yeah.
I know I'm outdone. I'm at a loss for words here.
Damn. I'm just like,
Damn.
yeah. Burn that shit down. Don't use no water. Get some gasoline.
Yeah.
You got to kill that shit at the root.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's a tree. You got to burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do but burn it.
Yeah. And what are we fighting for real? For real? Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know who that is, but they.
Yeah.
Of course, that's John, honey. Go back and look at any of our podcasts. Scroll all the way down at the end. 9 times out of 10, it's probably John spitting, and he always got something hiding in the bag. He always prepared. I appreciate that. Ooh, she said, I have. That's what's up.
Hey. All right, so should I close this out?
Yeah, we will see you all back here next week. John, you got me?
Yes, ma'am. All right, y'all. Laters.